I'm 29 now, and I've been through a lot of genuinely horrible experiences. But nothing has ever stuck in my head the way one night from when I was 15 does. It was my first real babysitting job, not just watching a cousin for an hour. This was for a family friend. One of those situations where your parents know their parents, so everyone assumes it's automatically safe. Their names were Mark and Diane, and their son Charlie was 5. They lived in a nice house in a quiet, normal neighborhood. Looking back, that's part of what made it so unsettling. It didn't feel like the kind of place where anything bad could happen. It was a Friday evening in early fall. My parents dropped me off around 6:30. Mark and Diane were already dressed up. Mark shook my hand like I was interviewing for a job, and Diane kept calling me a lifesaver. They walked me through everything. What Charlie eats, when he goes to bed, and that his bedroom door should stay slightly open. If he needed the bathroom, I was supposed to walk him there because he sometimes got scared in the hallway. Mark also pointed out the locks. The front door wasn't really used. They always came in through the garage. But the back door had 2 locks, a regular knob lock and a deadbolt above it. He specifically said to lock both. I nodded like I understood, thinking a lock was a lock. They left around 7. Charlie and I played games, ate mac and cheese and chicken nuggets, brushed his teeth, and I tucked him into bed. His room was at the end of the upstairs hallway, with a closet that had sliding doors and a tall hamper in the corner. There was a small yellow nightlight on his dresser. After he settled down, I went to the guest bedroom down the hall and turned on the TV. Everything felt easy, like the job was basically done. About 40 minutes later, I heard soft footsteps. Charlie was standing in the doorway, holding a stuffed animal. He looked scared. He whispered, I heard something in my closet. I told him it was probably just the house settling, but he insisted it sounded like scratching. I walked him back, turned on the light, and slid the closet door open. I gave it a quick check. Just clothes, nothing else. I closed it, tucked him in again, and went back to the guest room. 15 minutes later, he came back, more upset this time. The closet door moved. We walked back to his room, and when I stepped inside, I stopped. The closet door was wide open. I knew I had closed it. I asked him if he opened it, but he swore he didn't. I shut it again, trying to act like I wasn't bothered. But the way it slid, it didn't feel like something that would just open on its own. I tucked him in again and went back to the guest room. But now I felt on edge, like I was listening for something behind me. About 10 minutes later, he called out again, his voice shaky this time. I went back to his room. He was sitting up in bed, crying. What's wrong? I asked. He didn't answer. He just pointed toward the corner. I followed his finger, and that's when I saw it. Behind the hamper, pressed into the narrow space between it and the wall, was a person crouched down. At first, my brain didn't process it. Then I saw the shoulder, the shoes, and finally, part of his face. His eyes locked directly on me. Everything in me snapped into action. I grabbed Charlie, pulled him out of bed, and back toward the door without taking my eyes off that corner. the person didn't move at first. Like if they stayed still enough, we wouldn't notice. I ran to the guest room, locked the door, and called 911. I told the operator there was someone in the house. I didn't even know how to describe him, just that I saw eyes behind a hamper. We stayed locked in that room, waiting, expecting the doorknob to turn at any second. When the police finally arrived, they swept the house, but the man was gone. The front door was wide open. He had slipped out. When Mark checked the back door, the deadbolt was unlocked. I had only locked the bottom one. He explained that the lower lock could pop open if someone jiggled it. That's why he told me to use both. He wasn't yelling, but I could tell he was upset. Still, he kept thanking me for getting Charlie out safely. What still haunts me is what could have happened if Charlie hadn't come to me. If he had stayed in that room. If I had ignored him or told him to go back to bed. A couple of years later, when I was 17, I had another babysitting job, this time overnight. The kid, AJ, was 8. Quiet, distant. The first 2 times I watched him, it was easy. He just stayed in his room playing video games. The third time, his mom needed me to stay overnight. She seemed stressed, rushed through instructions, and left quickly. AJ barely acknowledged me the entire evening. He grabbed food and went back upstairs without saying a word. Later, when I was in the guest room, I saw him peeking in through the door crack, just watching me. When I called out, he didn't respond. That night, I woke up to the feeling that someone was in the room. I opened my eyes and saw him standing at the foot of the bed, completely still, hands behind his back. When I turned on the light, he just stared at me, expression blank, but somehow also tense. I told him to show me his hands. He shook his head. I walked over, grabbed his arm, and turned him slightly. He was holding a large kitchen knife. I screamed and told him to get out. He ran out of the room, still holding it. I locked the door and called his mom, barely able to speak. She immediately believed me, like she had been afraid of something like this happening. She sent his father to come get him. I left as soon as he arrived. I never babysat again after that. The last time something like this happened, I was 21, watching my niece Emma and nephew Lucas overnight. Everything was normal at first. Dinner, a movie, bedtime. About half an hour later, Emma came out and said I had just been in her room, whispering to her. I told her I hadn't. Then Lucas came downstairs and said the same thing, that I had been in his room, standing by his dresser, just staring. That's when it stopped feeling like kids imagining things. I turned off the TV and listened. The house felt wrong. Then I heard movement upstairs. A second later, Emma came running down the stairs, screaming and crying. "There's someone upstairs," she said. She told me someone had come into her room again, but this time, it didn't sound like me. And that's when I realized whatever was in that house was still there.